of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call roll.
Director Thomas,
I'm here.
Director Davidson.
Here. Item 2, is there any public comment today? Is there anybody online? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on. To item 3, approval of the minutes.
Move
June
for
4th.
move for approval.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved. 4A, new business fire district operations and maintenance. Damon?
Good afternoon, directors.
Good afternoon.
All righty. So the district owns 2,265 fire hydrants. And as of the creation of this document, we have 13 fire hydrants that were out of service for one reason or another. And it's pretty remarkable when you think about our distribution crews consist of 3 people per service area. And in the case of West Point, we have 1. So, the district can't do it alone when you think about all the other things that our distribution crews are responsible for, namely service lateral repair, replacement, PRV maintenance. We need help. So that's where the fire departments come in, and that's where this presentation really focuses on. So it is an overview of how we operate and maintain our fire hydrants, but it's also kind of a breakdown of what the fire departments do to provide an assessment. So as you guys know, we have extensive infrastructure throughout the county. And fire hydrant operation and maintenance is critical to the successful operation of so many things that we do, as well as fire protection. So this is an image right out of the gate of one of our distribution supervisors couple years back, providing training to fire department staff. So it's one thing that comes up a lot is, do our firefighters interact with our field crews, and do the senior staff provide any training? And the answer is yes. Throughout the distribution systems, our crews do that. I can tell you that I feel like we can tighten up the relationship, because there seems to be a fair amount of turnover in both sides. And so I think it would be beneficial to kind of set this up more as a routine effort, perhaps like an annual thing that's memorialized. But one of the reasons, as you guys know, because I'm sure you get plenty of phone calls after hours, is training for the fire department staff is really critical. We budget a little over $56,000 a year. We pay $25 per fire hydrant for the firefighters to check the operation of the hydrants. Oh, you're good. And addressing, document any issues that might exist, and then also take pressures. And so what can happen is, if those guys are operating the hydrants without our knowledge or in an untrained manner, they can stir up a lot of iron and manganese in the system. And this happened a couple months back, beginning of May. We had some firefighters in the Jenny Lind distribution system that this image is from. You can see kind of the grass is just laying down because somebody just ripped the hydrant open full bore. And then we had staff out flushing. We had like over 50 dirty water complaints, and then we had staff flushing for hours to clean the system up. So it's really critical that we work with the firefighters to train them, because there's just so much variability and pressure for our systems. You guys know this. It's important that they operate hydrants the way we ask them to. And so the other things to consider, though, is it can also become a public health and safety risk. If we accidentally drop pressure to a property that's below 20 PSI, we can allow for back siphonage, and that can create a lot of problems. So training's key, and we need to resume this training on an annual basis, so that when these guys do this work, they have a depth of knowledge with what they're doing. And so you can see kind of what they're responsible for with a fire hydrant inspection. So they inspect for operating condition, ease of access. Can you get to the fire hydrant? Is it covered up by a bush? Roadway reflectors. So the little blue reflectors indicate a fire hydrant. Burrs on the caps. Is it hard to spin the caps on or off? They lubricate the hydrant and they'll pull a static pressure. Yeah, and then paint condition. So we can dive down a rabbit hole related to paint. But for the most part, our fire hydrants are you would call it school bus yellow. Up on Ebbets Pass, though, they paint per NFPA flow condition. And that's an assessment that the fire department does. The image, kind of the back image of this slide shows an assessment of fire hydrants. So they go through and they basically check box for all these different conditions. And then they'll note, is this one hard to turn? Is this one hard to operate? Is this one broken? And so then at the end of that inspection, they provide that to the district. That's the cover page on the image on the left. They'll say, you know, Calaveras Consolidated Jenny Lynn Firehouse. Here you go, Damon. Here's our inspection of the fire hydrants this year. We found 11 that are out of service. And these are the issues. And then we convey that information to our field crews and they coordinate with construction to go out there and make repairs. So these are images of, you know, obviously a bagged hydrant. You know, when we were on the Arrow fire, somebody said, hey, the universal signal for an out of service hydrant is put a garbage bag on, you know? And so because we were trying to bounce guys all over the place and people were just pulling water. And we went, you know what, you're right. Let's go bag these hydrants so we can send you that way. But it also indicates.
And we did that not because they weren't perhaps working, but they were just not in the right zone for it.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yep. And so then you can see O&M on the right, you know, taking a hydrant out of service to maybe replace a broken shaft or repair it or maintain it, grease it, do whatever we need to do. Another huge issue for our fire hydrants out in the field is the lack of guard valves or the loss of valves so a lot of our distribution guys spend their time locating valves that are on a map, but they don't exist in real life, can't find them. So they'll get a metal detector out there and sure enough, there they are. A lot of our coordination with the county on microsurfacing or repave effort is grade rings so that we don't lose our valves. But I can tell you, you know, for example, Copper Cove Drive, no guard valves on the hydrants. And so when you have to coordinate night work to shut the system down to do work on fire hydrants in that area, that can be a huge issue, especially if you have somebody runs into a hydrant and breaks it off in the middle of an afternoon. You can have a pretty significant portion of the distribution system out of water. So what our staff have been doing as of late is trying to coordinate work efforts so that they can install guard valves. And so if there's a hydrant that has an issue, difficult to turn, it's broken, and it doesn't have a guard valve, when the repair happens, it has a guard valve at the end of the day. So some more images of the work that our folks do to optimize our distribution system when it comes to fire hydrants. And just more images of the same. And then I think these are kind of some really good shots that illustrate kind of what our customers can experience when we have either a water line break, a fire. If the fire department has to, you know, roll up to a house that's on fire and just start using as much water as possible and we stir things up, this is what it's going to look like. So the best case for us is to avoid that through routine training, and so that during normal O&M and inspection of hydrants, we don't encounter dirty water like this. And you can see kind of the work effort that our guys have to do to get just colored water to clear water. It can take a couple hours to clear up a disturbed system. So how does this relate? How does the relationship with the CCWDs, distribution crews, the fire system inspections kind of, there's multifaceted way that it benefits our customers. And one of those ways is through the ISO score. So a fire department's ISO rating is determined in large part by the distribution system. So 40% of an overall ISO score is based on the distribution system. So ISO is Insurance Services Office. And so as you all know, the ISO assessment can really result in a direct reduction in your insurance rates. An ISO assessment is conducted usually every 4 to 5 years. And so the district works really closely with the fire departments as they come in to facilitate, well, like whatever they need. If the fire department, so this has happened in the recent past. Our fire departments have come to us and said, hey, we're at a 5. Jenny was at a 5/5Y. And that's a polite way of saying, so let me jump back real quick. An ISO score, 1 is the best, 10 is the worst. So you're 5, you're kind of middle of the road. But if you're a 5/5Y, that's a polite way of saying you're middle of the road. But if you live at the outskirts of the fire protection system and away from the water supply, you're at a 10, meaning you're in a poor situation. So the goal is to get the assessment to be as close to a 1 as you can. But even then, Ebbets Pass is a 2/2Y. And what that means is, hey, if you're right within the fire protection zone and you're within the water distribution system, your ISO rating is going to be good. It's going to be a 2. But if you're at the outskirts of the system, you're either 5 miles away from a firehouse or you're away from the potable water distribution system, you're going to be at a 10. So there's still a lot of variability in our service areas ISO ratings, but they've dramatically improved over the recent years. So like I said, Jenny Lind a couple years ago was at 5 and it's now 3, a 3/3Y. Copperopolis was a 7, I'm going to say about 4 years ago, and it's now a 4. And then the pass was above a 5. And when Chief Johnson got there in 2014, it was well above a 5, and that's now a 2.
Okay. Who compiles the information for the ISO reports?
So that's usually the fire chief or the fire department. And so what they'll do is a representative from ISO will come out, they'll do a field visit, and they'll assess, there's a, I think I have the parameters in here. Let me pull them up here. Let's see here. Yeah, so 50% of the score is the quality of the fire department. And within that score, it's the number of staff, the training of staff, and the number of firehouses. And so, and then 10% is the emergency communication system. So if you have 911, great. Who deploys 911? How's it administered? Do you have something else? Do you have like an Everbridge or some other kind of internal emergency notification system that will boost your score? You can get extra credit for community outreach, fire prevention meetings and workshops and town halls. And then 40%, like I said, is the water system. And so you'll hear a fire chief say, we're only as good as your ability to flow test fire hydrants, keep them in operation, and the size of your distribution system water mains. That's another critical component. And so in the recent past, the fire department will reach out to us and they'll say, hey, we would just love to be able to get a flow test in this zone. We have it because you can usually surrogate a flow test for 5 hydrants in the area. And they'll say, we don't really have a good number for this street. Can you guys go out and conduct a flow test with us? And so we'll work with them to get them the information.
The system isn't modeled, so we know
We do
without
have
testing.
we do have some information for the systems, but in order to update the score, they're going to want to fill in as many holes in the game, and a lot of that information we don't have in a model. Yeah. So yeah, so 30 credits is for system supply. Hydrants is only 3, interestingly enough, and then inspection and flow test.
I guess I don't understand the credits. So
It's basically, it relates to, so if 40% was a score of 40, it's kind of jumping between a percentage and a number. So and this is within their own.
so you say, well, for instance, it says fire hydrants count for 3 credits. I mean, is there a number of fire hydrants we're supposed to have per mile, or is it
Well, there's
3 per fire hydrant? That can't be.
a standard that CCWD has, and there's a state standard for the distance between fire hydrants, but I'm not sure because within this summary report for the ISO score, they don't provide you with a detailed breakdown of, we're going to review the state standard for, you know, the number of fire hydrants per 500 feet or 1,000 feet. They don't really describe that, but I would presume that that's what they're doing. Is they're basically looking at what the standard would be.
Well, that's one of the
6-inch
things
water main.
that's what we gotta find out. I mean, we need to know what they're looking, look at what they're looking for optimal, and you know, we'll never be able to achieve that in Rancho, but I mean, we need to make sure that our new construction standard meets that.
Oh, absolutely. And I can confirm with you that, yes, absolutely it does. Yes. So the
Well, and
state
then also any project, any project like, even the A/B tank,
right.
we should be trying to meet that standard when we do anything
Yep.
newer,
Right. Absolutely. Yep. So 6-inch water mains or above and every 500 feet is a fire hydrant.
Okay, and then you
Yeah.
get here the bonus 5.5 that comes from community outreach. I mean, I don't know why we wouldn't have a section of community outreach regarding the fire hydrants every public meeting that we have.
I mean,
Why wouldn't we do that? If it counts and we can log it, why wouldn't
Right.
we add that component?
Yeah, I mean, we can even, yeah, there's multiple ways that we can do that. Yep, absolutely.
I mean, if it's truly something that gets, that counts in the scoring system, it just seems to me that like we just add it to our agenda, and because there's always, people are always going to want to know, what a water project is going to do,
Right.
for fire flow as well,
Yeah.
so we should have that component.
Yep.
So,
Great. Yeah,
Fine.
we can definitely do that.
You mentioned that there's a way to get a bonus point or something, but if Copper Cove was what did you say, a 4 now? If a person has a fire hydrant at the edge of their driveway, can they say, oh, by the way, Mr. Insurance Man, I've got a fire hydrant right here? Does that help them or not?
I would think that it would individually, but in terms of the overall ISO score, which basically all the insurance companies, whoever you're going to use, are going to refer to,
Mhm.
they're going to set you at a 4. And then I'm sure if you, or if, and if you called your individual broker and said, well, I have one across the street, that you could get a chance.
well, I feel like we're missing something here, because I don't think, our ISO ratings, if 5 is fair, considering where we are, it seems to me our ISO ratings are, and they're tracking in the right direction, but they seem to be pretty good.
They are good. They're 3 and 2 are excellent. There was a slide, I should have included it, I don't think I did, that showed nationwide where most folks are. Most folks are at a 5 or a 6, most communities. And so we're at 2s and 3s and 4s. We're way better than.
Well, I also think that this is a good opportunity to explain that to people, because,
Yeah,
this is a hot topic right now. And I believe it's not necessarily because of this ISO rating, although I really want to get a better handle on that. I think that I don't know if the state has, I think I mentioned this about the old FEMA flood maps. There's some areas that were in those original FEMA flood maps that were just nonsense. And when they got challenged, then FEMA kind of laid off of it, and they actually went and did some research. I wonder if we're being, some of our developments and subdivisions are being put in the wildland fire area, and that's causing it. And that's a state, because the California Building Code in Stockton, you don't have to put in fire sprinklers, but up in Valley Springs you do.
right. The wildland urban interface
Yeah.
designation, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess I need to know more about how that interacts. I'd really like to get somebody from, the insurance industry to come up here and explain this, explain why people are having their insurance canceled, because it doesn't seem like it's the ISO rating,
Right.
unless they're literally going individually and people aren't taking care of their property. But I don't know that they're doing that sort of level.
Right. Yeah, no, yeah, that's a really good point that you make. And I would confirm that the ISO ratings are great. And when you talk to the fire departments,
No, I had a meeting with, Chief Dickinson and Supervisor Tuffanelli
Oh, you
and,
did? Oh,
the
great.
building department the other day, and he brought up these same numbers,
Yeah.
that they had improved and how proud they were of it. But nobody seemed to know I just don't know that we're cooperating that much if we just kind of lucked into this. I mean, I want to make sure that we are having a concerted effort where they get every improvement that we make. And my other question is, what's the AB transmission line going to do to this rating? It certainly should improve it unless they didn't
Yeah,
know
so-
about the deficiencies on B tank.
So system supply, it's going to dramatically improve system supply. So when Chief Dickinson decides he wants to pull the trigger on the next ISO rating, we need to fly the flag of A to B with
Yeah,
the upsize of right, absolutely. And that can definitely play a role into improving the overall rating. Absolutely can. And I think to your point, the closer we are in contact and communication with the fire folks, the more easy that is to have those conversations. Because one of the challenges that they face is when to request another rating. They need to have full complement of staff. We need to be prepared to respond to any questions that the field reps from ISO might have. They might say, hey, well, have you guys got a flow test over here on, Baldwin in this area? And Chief needs to know that he can call us and say, hey, can you guys go get a flow test knocked out within the next day or two? So we can and I think that is one thing that we can definitely improve on, is just that routine day-to-day conversation. Because it's just something that is not going away, right? I mean, obviously with
they weren't invited today.
I did not talk to Chief about coming today, no.
Is this going to be a full board?
Up to you guys. If you
Presentation.
want to bring it to the full board, we can do that.
I think the whole board would like to know about it, and then, and be able to share their thoughts. Everybody lives in kind of a different area and might have separate, concerns. I do know that because I can't think of his name now, but the head building official, Oliver, he was saying there's 5 different fire districts in the county, and
More than that.
Yeah, there's
or
right,
fire, I don't know.
fire protection district, right? The
Yeah, the
county
areas.
one, right? Yeah.
The areas. Maybe there's more, I don't know, but in regards to some of the stuff the work that I do, they're requiring different things, and so he was trying to make like a master list of the different districts, and then, what their standard was for fire protection for the buildings that I put up.
Yeah, and the county they created a countywide fire marshal position to try to
I
consolidate
think
that,
that's-
but then they eliminated it.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
and
did
then
did
they
replace them?
refilled it. So they refilled the fire marshal position. And
Well,
so,
they got some work to do on their side.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, yes.
Yeah. And I don't know what level the county plays in this. I mean, it's probably not, obviously if it's 40% of what counts as this thing, we need to be addressing it.
Yes,
I can't think of a thing particularly this time of year that our ratepayers would want us to be doing, anything but that. So,
right. Yeah, no, and the fire departments do a really good job of giving us those reports. And then our guys respond very quickly when it comes to resolving any out of service issues that happen. I do think, to your point, that perhaps it's beneficial. Michael and I, we've attended a Chiefs meeting in the past. But that's a very much a firefighter, they're not always talking about the fire hydrants. They've got a whole host of other things they want to discuss, and water systems might just be a little tiny portion of it. So perhaps there's an opportunity here where we can have, a routine, perhaps a quarterly meeting like we have with utilities, where we coordinate with fire departments.
without question in my mind, we need to know what date, when they're gonna, if the fire district is the one that submits the form and brings in all the information for the ISO rating, we need to have a heads up when that's gonna occur and what they need from us. And I will tell you that knowing how shortly staffed most of these volunteer fire, folks are, it wouldn't be a bad idea if we would push that. a little.
Kind of facilitate the whole, yeah,
Yeah.
got it.
I mean, it can't, I mean, just the coordination of, making a phone call to say, hey, when do you think we're gonna need this?
Right.
Let's set up a date 6 months ahead of that, make sure we got all our stuff in a row, or can ask them, should we wait until we finish the AV transmission line? Or will that count? Can we start talking about, that for the next ISO rating?
Mhm.
I think that, we know they don't know anything about what we're doing. Unless we tell.
Right. Unless we communicate. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, and like Michael said, with the new fire marshal, they've, like you said, they've gone through some changes, some challenges. It sounds like they might be on steady ground now. We have a quarterly utilities meeting. We now have a quarterly OES coordination meeting.
Well, I could
It
talk
makes
to
sense.
Gary about, I mean, it seems to me that'd be a good job for the new fire marshal.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we'll attend and participate. And I think if we need to be the coordinator, I'm happy to do that. Yeah, no problem.
Well, I think, what do you think? I mean, should I talk to Gary and just say, hey,
Mhm.
I don't wanna, be out in front of something that we're not supposed to be out in front of, but I mean, I feel like we have a role in this, but,
We have a very significant role. We
Right.
should be pushing for it.
right,
Yeah.
but, yeah. But,
I mean, whatever your direction, if you guys talk to Michael and you guys want us to pursue kind of setting that up, happy to do it. If
well,
Supervisor.
I think we
Tuck-
should, maybe, I mean, we can wait and ask the whole board about it, but I think it's gonna be, I can't imagine anybody not wanting to get on some sort of a schedule, get on a routine, and then just to be sure that we're doing everything possible. And then whatever information we can get on this, on the urban wildfire, whatever the hell it
Yeah.
is. I'd like
I've
to
got
get more information on that, just to find out, what's the criteria for that? And that may be a county planning thing where the county has to come up and say, hey, that's not exactly who we are.
Right.
We beg to differ with your opinion of us, or at least in certain areas. And maybe challenge that and see if we can get some of that zone taken away,
Yeah.
Cause this fire insurance thing is a big deal. I mean, it is, people think they're gonna buy a house and they find out how much their fire insurance is gonna be and they don't qualify.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
if they don't get it at all, or they get canceled. So
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're doing everything we can. And if we can do a little more, then I think we'd be better off.
What is a painted red fire hydrant mean?
So according to NFPA, it's 500 gallons per minute or less. So, however, so these are the rabbit holes that we have to have in these conversations, right? So some hydrants that were painted red were designated as high pressure some years ago upon installation. I think this occurred mostly in Copperopolis. And so the concern and the NFPA, I think that's the National Fire Protection Association, is who designates the color coding. I think, what is it? Light blue is above 2,000 gallons a minute. And there's a variation of colors in between. However, a lot of utilities opt for a different color independent of flow rate, bless you, because of their insurance concerns and the variability in flow and pressure that can happen throughout a distribution system based on demand. And so a lot of the times you'll find, like I said, school bus yellow or race or, bright yellow hydrants all across the board. And like I said, some of the red ones that we have were actually red because of high pressure.
Okay. So I guess it kind of goes without saying that a fire hydrant has to be hooked up to something. Could I have one that I could just put out by my driveway? So
Yeah, we actually get that question fairly often.
do you? Actually, so.
And to that end, though, I think there's also an opportunity to have discussions with the fire departments about where if there's a new water line going in, or we're gonna rehabilitate this section of Main, do you see an opportunity for a fire hydrant here?
Also, just on a list of our capital improvement projects over the last few years. It'd be nice to have a list of projects that we've done that we know contributed to lowering those scores,
Okay,
just so people understand what the different projects.
right. And just to highlight this slide here too, the NFPA, so there are a host of manuals that the NFPA puts out related to fire flow testing, water distribution systems related to fire protection. And so there's one on color coding. There's one on, this one is water flow testing and marking, right? Yeah, so there's a whole host of things that we can collaborate with the fire departments on when it comes to the systems. Yeah. And they initiate the ISO, and it's usually every 4 to 5 years. And so I think perhaps, you know, not to get ahead of anybody here, but what I can envision is perhaps there's a point in time where we're all trying to coordinate with the fire departments as they look to get ready to make that phone call and make that request for a new assessment.
Do you know if the whole county's on the same schedule, or is it just as,
It's all over the map. Yeah, so they're all different timelines.
all right? Well, I appreciate this information. I think it's something that we need to put out in some form of a press release.
Okay,
Just talk about what our role is in it, particularly the change in the ISO rating for the pot for the better. Because I would bet you that most people think that we have because of what's going on up here. And I don't know if this is a statewide issue, or just a foothill issue, but I would think people probably presume we have a very poor ISO rating. And it's
Right.
kind of surprising to see that it's really pretty darn good,
it's really good. And I can tell you,
particularly when we're looking at, a 60-year-old water system.
yes.
you know.
Yes, because I have worked in systems that had a lot of 2-inch standpipes as fire hydrants in the forest. So the community of Pioneer, and off of Highway 88 is all 2-inch standpipes for fire hydrants.
Right.
And that was a huge area of concern, and the focus was always to upsize the system, because you can have as powerful a fire department as you could ever ask for. And if you have 2-inch standpipes and 2-inch water mains, 40% of that score is out the window.
No.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'll continue to work on this.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You good with that? Is
No, I'm good.
there anybody in the public that is still with us? Nope. All right. Thank you. All right, next we'll move to construction management, copper tank construction. Kevin? Okay.
Well, thank you, project. Our originally is estimated cost. Got better handle on. Construction, but it's definitely right. Don't be promising the projects. There has been cost savings in the construction itself, so those cost savings in the construction will offset the PBI increase in budget.
So this Copper Cove Clearwell has been under construction for quite a while. There hasn't been any welding taking place before now?
Yeah, there has, well, there's welding occurring, but we got to get specialized inspection to look at the welding before it gets coated. So that's the whole point of getting this done.
Well, we didn't know that beforehand?
Yes.
Yes, we didn't know that?
Oh, no, like I said, the budget was set up without these items in place.
Okay. So I guess let me rephrase my question, that this proposal from PBI is to allow them to do the special inspection On any future welding, we've already paid somebody else to look at what's been done.
That's my understanding, correct?
Okay. You have any comments on that, Jared?
This, the extension of PBI, the.
Yeah.
Yes, but is this for rehab of all the tanks?
Come on up, please.
This is for the budget adjustment for PBI, it'd be because there was special inspections that were left out in the project when it went out to bid. And now we're having to do those coating inspections, welding inspections, different services that are needed. So we still have the 2 tank rehabs. We finished the clear well. We now will move into the coating. The final coating inspection for B tank happens on Monday. And now we'll move over to the rehabs.
Okay, so they have performed some inspections, and this will take care of paying them for some previous inspections and future inspections.
I believe the previous this is for future. This is for more inspections,
Future only.
field inspections.
Okay.
The prior inspections happened in the factory,
Oh, okay.
and now they had to add for the field inspections. When you get into the tank rehabs, it's kind of rolling the dice until you get in and start sandblasting to know the extent of what we'll find. So it could be less, could be more.
Okay. Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, who requests, the special inspections? Do we make those requests?
Yes, we did make those requests.
So we'll have a guy out there in the field that says this is gonna be welded, we need to have it inspected.
Yes, working with the special inspections, they actually coordinate it with Crosnow's welding crews or the coating guys of when they will be ready for those inspections. The coating is less than the welding because it's pretty much when they get the prep work, then they'll do an intermediate, and then they'll do a final. And they also have to do a quality control for the holiday testing.
Right.
But this says that we're approving, or we're being asked to consider approving 145, an increase of 145,000. But on the letter signed by Carl, it said that the work's going to be done on a time and material basis.
Yeah, I believe this is a not to exceed.
Okay. All right, so we will just be making a recommendation to the board to
That's correct.
approve this. Okay, I have no objection.
Okay, I agree. Okay, we'll make that recommendation. Is there any public comment? Is there any public?
Yeah.
How do you know the difference? Huh? Pardon? Oh,
Spots.
well, I can't read the names. All right, then. Thank you.
you.
Okay, I guess the next one is Arnold wastewater treatment plant.
That's correct. So we've submitted a grant application a while back to Clean Water. And as you know, the state budget is a little short this coming fiscal year. So basically, we were told that our grant application will not be considered this funding round. And there's several other grants that were kind of preliminary approved that are ahead of us in the line. So we can't wait any longer to make these improvements at Arnold. So we approached both the SAFE Bank, the Infrastructure Bank, and also USDA, Rural Development, to see what kind of funding options do they have for us. We decided to go ahead and submit the application to Rural Development simply because they have better terms. And part of the loan can be forgiven as part of the grant. So we're not 100%. It's 100% funded, but not 100% repay. So that's part of the grant application. There's a few things that we need to do for the grant application because original grant application was to the state. Since this is now a federal grant application, we have to make some adjustments to the environmental docs, make it NEPA compliant and other things to comply with the federal grant application packet.
Any comments?
So this is another situation where we're going to be making a recommendation to the board that we
That's correct.
go ahead and apply for this other grant funded possibility.
Yeah, once we get the agreement in place, that's when we'll bring it back to the board to authorize GM signature.
Okay. Any idea what the turnaround time would be for the application? I mean, we've already been turned down by the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, it says here.
Right.
The USDA has a fairly quick turnaround time on approval or disapproval.
They are pretty fast in terms of turnaround. You know, the lengthy part is getting our application in with all the proper documentation needed to get for complete application. So that's going to be the other, I would say, not lengthy, but converting a CEQA into a NEPA document, it takes some time.
We've had some good discussions with their staff already, though. They're ready to move on it. So we want to get this going. as soon as-
Where's the rest of the money gonna come from?
Well, it should fund hopefully 100% of the project. Only part of it would be grant funded and part of it would be financed. We don't
Oh,
know
okay.
that would be allocated yet, but
I
either
gotcha.
way, it would be financed at a low interest rate. USDA is very favorable lending.
And there will be a need for a bridging loan, I believe, for this as well.
There could be potentially a bridge loan required as well.
So this is something that has a kind of a short fuse on it. We need to get moving on this.
Yes,
Okay, so we're looking at a situation where we may have to start the construction and fund it and then hopefully backfill later with the,
pretty much that's how USDA, they don't reimburse as the project goes along. They reimburse once the project's complete.
after it's
So-
done. Okay. All right.
You want to agree to move that forward?
Yes, yeah, we need to move forward.
All right, I do as well. Is there any public comment? Okay, the next item is lock antenna wastewater treatment plant improvements, engineering design consultant selection.
So this project is the third phase for La Contenta wastewater treatment plant. The first phase was the initial construction. The second phase was completing the UV disinfection. And now we're looking at replacing and upgrading a good part of the plant, adding additional capacity at the plant because there's limitations there. And so this project, we went out with a request for proposal for design services. Two engineering firms replied, and we selected the one that was Hydroscience. And Hydroscience has been working for the district for a while. They've done excellent work. They're very responsive. I agree with the decision to go ahead and engage their services.
All right.
Hmm.
If anything,
I just wonder if Stantec was looking at the same project.
yeah, I don't know. Couple things. This project has a $15 million price tag.
That's my understanding, correct? It-
What?
yeah, It could,
Try to make that make sense to me. I mean,
these are budgetary estimates until we get into design and actual equipment.
I mean, how is that gonna, I mean, we're just talking about, trying to get to another phase here. I mean, the next phase is not $15 million.
The next phase is replicating what it already exists at the, so basically we're doubling the capacity, adding another biolac system to the existing treatment facility. And the way the original proposal was, we were trying to seek out proposals to see if we can add that capacity and add other clarifiers along with the biolac filtration system and the solids handling at the same time. So trying to add another treatment facility at the same cost. The estimate based off of the last master plan was done was.
What's the capacity? What's the additional capacity that's gonna be created by the,
So this will
$15
be
million
for the build out.
say what?
So the proposal with the addition would be for the build out as was originally planned with the, when we.
Do you have a number of that? Cause I mean, compared to what we have there today, what do we have there today? 2,000 something?
I'll have to look at that number. I don't have that at the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to what that does to our, we just lowered the capacity fee there a few years ago.
Yeah, I think we need to take a look at it again.
So it's some basic, math.
Well, we lowered it only for certain people, for those, it went up for, we eliminated the 8605 credit, and for those that didn't get that credit, it went up.
This is 8604, but
60, did I say 605?
5 or 6.
I've been trying to forget 8604, so maybe that's why. So it went up for everybody else, though.
Yeah, well, I want a better, I'm fine with this preliminary thing, but give us a report that talks about capacity, existing capacity, and what we're going to create. Okay?
Okay.
So do you have any issues with moving this forward? And this 464, that would be paid for out of the capacity fees?
The funding for the budget amount, I believe some of it comes from I'm looking at a budget guy back there, but
I think we had it in our CIP as well.
Yeah.
But is it? Some of it is, this is not all new construction, it's existing deficiencies as well, right?
I'm sorry, you caught me off guard. If I remember correctly, it's a combination of expansion fees and R&R, because we can use up to 63% of capacity fees to upgrade our existing facilities.
But there is an existing current deficiency at the, there's a weak part in the system that's the responsibility of the people that are there now, in addition to a growth component for future growth.
Yes.
All right. Okay, Russ?
I'm okay.
All right, we'll move that forward as well. Is there any public comment? Who is that? I have no idea. Michael, go ahead. We don't hear you if you're talking.
Let me try again. Can
There
you
you
hear
go.
me now?
Yep, we got you.
All right. I have a question about the
Who are you?
strategic. Michael
Michael Rogers.
Rogers from Valley Springs.
Okay, thank you.
I am a current resident within the wastewater treatment service area. So my question is related to the strategic plan that you commissioned in January of 2018 for the La Quintana wastewater treatment facility. Does this phase 3 is it within that plan? Is it part of that plan that was bought and paid for in 2018, or are we off talking about something else that is beyond the scope of that strategic plan?
I think we might be confusing strategic plan with master plans there. So we did a master plan, I think it was 2018, that did look at expansion of the treatment plant. And this is kind of the next step in that evolution.
Is that, 2000?
Is that what you're referring to? Because master plan is an engineering document, strategic plan is not.
One moment. One second. Yeah, master plan is the term that is used in the document. You're correct, Michael.
Yeah, so there is a discussion of expansion of, some of this, what we're talking about here was looked at in that master planning document. This is kind of the next step.
When is the next master plan? It's supposed to be doing these every 5 years.
Yeah, and I know we've got several master plans in the budget for this coming year. I'm not sure if Lock and.
right, there's a few that need to be updated.
Well, is it being updated?
I don't think this was one of them, but I
No.
don't recall. Which
It's
ones?
more of I believe, I put in for several and obviously I had to pare it back, but I think the water system up in Arnold is one of them that's on the list right now.
Okay, well, let's get that question answered when this goes before the board. We want,
Yeah,
I mean,
thanks.
we need to be, yeah, we gotta be able to confirm that we're following our master plan, and if we need to
Yep.
update that, then we have to update it, but I mean, I don't have it here in front of me, but
No, this is, I think, tearing off of that. It's not, I don't believe this La Contenta master plan update was included in this year's budget, but we can confirm that.
well, we need to make sure at least we're following the
Right.
old one and that it's still accurate, so.
Right.
Anything else, Michael?
No, as I said, I kind of dug that up a few months ago and, I have some concerns about where we're headed with this, because it looked like from the master plan that things had been deferred in terms of, but if we're on to phase 3, I guess that's progress. So thank you. I just want to make sure that what I'm reading is running in parallel with, this
Well,
project.
yeah, this has been for the last several years, has been on our list of things to do. And fortunately, I mean, not fortunately for the county, but there's been a lull in development. And it's been important to me that we keep on track to this. All this is going to do is to give us the blueprint to go out and do construction. But we have to be ready if development does come. I want to make sure that we're not, that we don't have the planning stuff done, because there's a good chance if a developer comes, and there's several in the loop there, they will have to pay a big portion of this construction for this project to have it go forward. So I just wanted to make sure that we were prepared. So this isn't, I mean, we've been talking about this for several years. It's probably 18 months later than it should have been done in my
Yeah, thank you.
estimation.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I just want to make sure as a resident that we're not in a position where we're overtaxing the existing system and start running into, big problems, so I appreciate that we're got our eye on the ball here and that, phase 3 will get done hopefully in a timely manner. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we will move that one forward as well.
Yes.
To the board. All right. Too many agendas. Okay, the AMI project additional purchases.
That's correct. That's the next item here. So, the AMI project was successful. We rolled out and built the new water meters and put a system, electronic system out there to collect the information. This is just an additional item that we like to put in the system. And it's basically collecting information or providing the capacity to provide, let's see, I'm kind of new to this project, but it looks like we're providing, data interface with our pressure reducing valves and pressure sustaining valves so that we can make more refined adjustments. And I'm going to have our operators come up here and talk more about this kind of purchase, but there's a sufficient budget left in the project budget to make this
In
purchase.
the AMI project.
Yeah.
Some cash left, but then we can get to the grant threshold of, exceed the loan threshold and get to the grant of $1 million. And when the engineering department reached out to the USDA, they said you could use that money to optimize to pay for water system optimization. So ties into water loss, it ties into understanding what your pressures are, it ties into understanding what flows are. And so ops and engineering are working on basically a plan for that to present to y'all, and then hopefully we can bring that to the full board at some point in time also. So that money is still there. There's an approval to use it. We just need to basically develop a plan. And so we have a general idea of what we want to do. We just don't have it on paper yet.
It would seem to me to be having all those pressure PRVs on SCADA would be a great thing.
Exactly. There's actually, not to get too far ahead, but there's actually systems, software out there now that can take SCADA from the water facility and information from the distribution system, and then use that to use artificial intelligence to open up and close your pressure reducing valves to optimize energy usage. So you're not basically blowing energy where you don't need to with pump operation. So turn your VFDs down during the middle of the day because everybody's at work. And then when they come home to take a shower and make dinner, you can increase the VFD speed. And so we're looking into that as well.
And you can do that in on an emergency basis as well?
Yes.
You can up ramp?
Yeah, you could get in and you could override and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
So there will be a report coming to y'all.
Good stuff.
All right. So what do you need from us on that? Nothing?
It looks like there's some concurrence.
Okay, yes. We concur. Is there any public comment? And this would be potentially a 100% grant funded
Yes,
effort?
yes.
Great. Anything?
Network pressure monitoring.
All right, Dowd's Fuel Break Project. John?
Great, thank you. This is nothing more than an update. We received the $393,100 via the Forest Service back in fall of 2024 for 148 acres of basically fuel thinning or making the forest safer on private lands, which is different. We are the fiscal agent of that money, and we're going to be using Cal-Am to facilitate the work. This is also part of the Arnold Wildland Urban Interface, which will cover about 6,500 acres and about 4,000 buildings in the process. We are going to be looking. We've talked with Cal-Am and looking at either starting, if perhaps in November or in 2025. Right now, work is not allowed due to the fire hazard that could exist to do the work. And we still need to get the agreement from 4 of the 5 parcels that are in this 148 acres. One of the parcels is going to be difficult to get, is our understanding. One parcel is actually in escrow right now, so that should be fine. And that will then leave about, excuse me, 20.4 acres to get if we can, the other 3 signatures on the land. And that would move us up to about 20% of the project, 20% of the land that was not going to be dealt with in the 148 acres. The question is, it was raised, what about the Clean Water Act? Yes, they have to apply to that. We have to deal with all federal regulations.
Do we?
Yeah, since the money came through there, which is good because Davis-Bacon doesn't apply.
As of last week, you're sure we do?
Yes. What did I miss last week?
Well, Chevron difference.
Oh,
Well, yeah, these are rules that have already been implemented
Yeah.
that are currently
Well,
subject.
I do want to, I'm going to set it up for an agenda item. I want to know how that's going to affect us.
It is going to affect us.
It's going to have, something's going to change here, but anyway, go
yeah.
ahead.
But in this case, if by chance we aren't able to do all 148 acres, which could happen, do we return any unused funds? No, the Forest Service doesn't take the money back. So what we can do, talking with Cal-Am, is there's an adjacent property actually that could be, it's already had all the environmental certification done. The funds could then go to there, the Davies Ranch, to be able to be utilized for that. Again, this is an update. Again, we received the funds back in fall of 2024 and just wanted to make sure you knew what's going on. And we're still trying to collect some of the signatures if we can from 3 of the parcels. Again, one parcel, we're not going to get the signature because the person doesn't want to sign. I'll leave it at that. And it's an update. So this is great and it's helpful actually in our whole Highway 4 corridor issues of fire safety.
Just curious, how did this come about? I don't recall this.
So
But how
this-
did it come about that we would get,
I wasn't here.
This is another Cal-Am project. So they had done the
and we're just the,
scope, they've done the environmental work, they did all the project. They did.
we're
the grant
basically the bank
application.
for this, is that?
Yeah, so they need a public agency to be the fiscal agent and the grant applicant. And so we've worked with them on this in the past. This is how we did the other fuel thinning project we did in Arnold a couple years ago. They're a great team. They do a lot of the heavy lifting. This one's a little bit different where we're actually we'll be awarding the contract as well. So it's a little bit different than the last one, but it's still, I think, a very beneficial project and it's 100% grant funded. So we're happy to be able to help. It helps protect the watershed, helps protect our critical infrastructure, helps protect the community,
And we get reimbursed for our,
and we get administrative overhead as well.
administrative.
I think that's 10%.
Okay.
But this is an update.
All right, great.
No action needed.
Anything?
Just,
Any public comment?
just the Pat McGreevy is the, the.
Yeah, and I talked with Pat this morning, so I have an update on some of the lands
He's a hard worker.
that need to be signed off on.
Sure is.
Great. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
Thank you. The old business, capital improvement updates.
Be going over a couple, actually several of the projects that we are currently working on. So I guess I'll start with Jenny Lean. It'll be transmission pipeline. So we are currently working on submittals and resubmittals. About close to a month ago, we had a town hall at the Jenny Lean Fire Station. It went pretty well. CMS boards were placed about 2 weeks ago. Around the project side, which by law we have to put in 14 days before the construction starts. We are currently scheduled for Monday the 8th, this Monday coming up, to have a kickoff meeting with the county, the design consultants and ourselves, and hopefully start potholing that week, the week of the 8th. Let's see.
I noticed that, are they staging the piping there on Hogan Dam Road?
Yes,
Why aren't they doing that on our property?
Capacity to give them to store that much material.
On our 51 acres?
You're talking about the piece that we fenced by the wastewater plant?
That's leased.
What?
That's leased.
Oh, there's a cattle lease on it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
They've actually acquired a couple different lots that they had access to. So there's some other lots that they have down on Baldwin that they're going to utilize. Like Juan said, they're planning on beginning potholing next week. We have our kickoff meeting with County Public Works. So, and I think that once we get their next 3-week schedule, we're probably going to be planning another community outreach meeting prior to school starting to let them know of the road closures. So
Yeah.
Kelly's working on that. As soon as we can get their schedule, then we'll get that in the works.
Yeah, because we don't want to delay the one bus that the county's gonna have running in the
Yes.
county.
It's not the buses, it's the school moms that are the worst. Next, as an improvement or next project would be the West Point water supply reliability. That is coming to a close. We're finishing out with the Tesco stuff and getting that finalized. West Point Wilseyville, we poured the base, the bottom to the sludge lagoons this morning. Sam and Jason have been working on that, so that is moving along. Copper Cove lift stations, we finished or we completed the PG&E inspection down at lift station 15. We have electrical equipment in place. We'll start wiring that, and that will be going hopefully into service here pretty quick. Lift station 6, we poured the MCC and generator slabs. They were moving equipment over to start installing the electrical next week, and bypass has been working great. After that, that's all the projects that I have in the works, but we are moving along, so I'll let Juan take. So,
I've been on a roll there for a minute.
well, I'll just move on to the Copper Cove Water System Improvement Project. So as Jared, you could have mentioned something about this too, Jared. As Jared mentioned, B-tank coating was completed and it's going to be final inspection on Monday. Crossno has completed erecting the clear well, and I believe they're going to be moving into coating it soon. Next week. Thank you. So it takes about almost 2 months after we coat it that we can actually start using the tank. So, but after those two tanks after the clear on the tank are coated and finished and filled back to service, we're gonna start rehabilitating the other two tanks.
And then Jenny Lind clear well as well. They're moving on to that one next.
Yes, but that's, yeah.
Okay.
So from right now, we can't take the clear well out of service, so our operations is working with them, and I believe that's scheduled to start in October.
Okay. That's exciting.
Materials have already been bought.
All right, and I'm gonna move on to Huckleberry Lift Station. So we received 6 proposals for the design, and we give the contract a professional service agreement contract to Lomas Engineering. And we hoping to have a kickoff meeting sometime this month, but with the holidays, it might be beginning of next month. And I think that's. Thank you, Jared. Covered a bunch of stuff. So I think that's it for us. For me.
Just, I'm just curious, when we complete these projects, do we, do we put out a press release that the project is complete? I know we always do when we start them, but.
Yeah, we usually do when we complete them as well, and in some cases, a ribbon cutting ceremony. We've talked about that for West Point. So, but I think it'll be a little while still before we schedule that. But yeah, we'll do some press releases once we complete the projects.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right,
Thank you, Juan.
Any other updates?
Good afternoon. For the other updates, is just the developer-driven projects. We've been in contact with LGI, and we're working with the finance department in order to sort out what the funding is going, or how we can best utilize the finances and without costing the district any money.
LBI is the
North Vista Plaza and
The
Valley Springs.
156 units that they're proposed to build over there off the Vista, west of Vista del Lago.
When's the last time you talked to them?
We've been going back and forth via email. We had a quick phone call a couple of weeks ago with them.
Okay.
They want to get started next spring with the construction on this project.
Great.
They seem favorable to all that. So they've been making good progress. We're working diligently with them. And after the last meeting, we also had a call with Gold Creek 3 developer, and they want to work with the district in order to move forward with their project also.
I'd be interested to get an update on that one.
Yep.
Later.
We talked.
Yeah.
And then we have CV developers in Copperopolis. They've submitted they've submitted on new improvements to the Coppertown Square. They're adding a few more buildings and some short-term rentals in that area, and we're reviewing those, and we should try to get back to them as to if there is any other improvements that would be needed on the water and the sewer system. And we did hear back from the school district. We had reached out to them trying to get an update as to how the project was progressing in Jenny Lind for the lift station and enforcement. The last update we got from them was that they were still working with SRF towards the extension of the funding program because I guess that contract had lapsed, and so they were.
I was gonna say that, I mean, with the state budget the way it is, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up losing that.
Yeah, so when we talked to them, they were hopeful that by the end of this month, which is July, that they should have all the signatures that they need.
And all they're lacking right now is the state architect.
I think that's what we've been told.
Yes.
Just don't know what the state architect has to do with that pipeline.
It's just it's surface anything that's on the surface, so it's just the pump stations, in my understanding.
Yeah, the state architect's more interested in site improvements at the school itself, not necessarily the mechanical or electrical improvements for the lift station itself. So it's accessibility and those kind of items.
Accessibility to our underground pipes?
No,
To the,
just strictly the site,
Building.
the school site itself.
we have a pretty big size structure on the school site for those
Oh.
pumps.
Well, it seems like they got a sewer plant there. It seems like we got plenty
Yeah,
of room.
according to Hugh, they're already done with the state architect. It's more now dealing with the state in terms of funding.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
All right, anything else?
that's it for now.
Okay. Perfect. General manager's comments,
None at this time.
director's comments? Not at this time.
Well, I'm just gonna, chime in with you that I'd like to get a, report on what's going on with Gold Creek too.
Okay, I have only one comment. I am curious as to, and I don't know at what board level or just a general discussion, but in my own curiosity with the Supreme Court decision on the Chevron deference, I'm curious as to what that does to some of the things that we have to do every day that are mandated by EPA and those folks.
I would be more than happy to nerd out on that. I could take an hour at the next board meeting if you want.
I would
Just,
prefer that as long as we take a few things off the agenda, that, you know, like maybe the finance or something.
I mean, yeah. I mean, kidding aside, I could make it an agenda item and report out on that. It is going to be very interesting, the implications for local agencies. Yeah, there will be.
Yeah, no, I don't see how there can't be. And it's just, I'm trying to wrap my head around. I don't think anything's going to happen fast, but some changes are definitely going to occur.
Oh, believe me, I mean, it is a seismic shift in environmental regulation that the general public, I don't think fully appreciates yet. It is going to be
Well,
a significant impact.
I keep getting back to the fact that this may allow us to discharge perfectly clean water into Cosgrove Creek.
It won't change that kind of thing directly. What it will do though is change, it really applies to the judicial review of federal agencies and to the approvals for things like that.
Well, right,
So
but
if there's a core-
they defined, waters of the United States. There's a bunch of stuff like that have been defined by these agencies that, from what I understand, that'll.
So the challenge, the judicial review, the standard of review in court for challenging those decisions and those approvals is what Chevron changes. So those
They
agencies
have to go to the court instead of the agency for
Those
that.
agencies will still follow their rulemaking procedures and issue those decisions, although I imagine they will adapt to this too, so that those processes are going to change. It's when they get sued, the level of deference that the court gives to the agencies is what Chevron really
Right.
changes.
Well, I'd appreciate it as if you could, sum it up. I mean, I find it all very interesting and I just think it may change a lot of what we're required to do.
I look forward to it.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Next meeting.
Okay, next meeting, September 3rd. Is it really? Why is it September 3rd?
We're every other month.
Yeah, every
Oh,
other, it's July.
it seems like they're every other week.
I thought so. It was
Is
also.
is that gonna interfere with your deer hunting schedule or?
No, September's fine. Okay, then, meeting adjourned. Thank you.